and to be in the presence of erudite, experienced, and professionals and academics, blending the mix between academic rigor, investment practice, and also, of course, policy formulation and operation. Thank you very much for having me here. Again, my name is Afolabi Akinrogunde. I'm the acting CEO of Olon. Full name is Olon Partnerships for Energy Access. We are an impact investment company, focused primarily on energy access within Nigeria. And it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you very much for having me. I've been told I have about 20 minutes, so I'll do my best and to quickly run through the slides. Can the slides show, please? Okay. Yeah. So first thing on the topic, I saw LNG trilemma and all of those big English, which my professors and my academics will have definitely talk more about when we get to the panel. But since I work for an investment company, I'm a commercial person. Spent almost 20 years in the oil and gas space, moving on to renewables, investing in companies in this space. I would like to look at this primarily from an investor's perspective, and I'm sure that we will find a way to look into all of the other arms which tie to it, because that at the end of the day, we have to situate all of the policies, all of the analysis we have into the real world where all of us operate and where all of us work. So next slide, please. So I'm basically showing you at the end of the day where we are in Nigeria. In terms of energy access in Nigeria, we have the highest number in the world in terms of energy access. 85 million people who have no access at all. I remember about 21 years ago, I worked in a company which was putting Bayelsa State on the grid for the first time. So up till 2001, even Bayelsa State wasn't even on the grid at all, the whole state in Nigeria. So 85 million Nigerians are totally off grid. They don't have any access to the grid whatsoever. India, with well over 1 billion people, has only 64. They have their own PHCN, their own NEPA, their own disco issues. But they have just 64 million who have no access to the grid whatsoever. Whereas in Nigeria, with 200 and something million, who, depending on which day of the week it is, we have 85 million people. 20 million more. That shows more or less, putting into context where we are and where we need to get to as a country to actually solve the problems we are at now in terms of energy access in Nigeria. Next slide, please. Press more. And of course, okay, let's go back. We need to also situate, I think probably because of the way this is shown, it doesn't show some of the lines. We also have to see where we rank as Nigeria, because energy access is a core element. I think some of the presenters earlier spoke about trying to find the linkage between energy provision, sustainable development, health, education, and all of that. And Prof. rightly gave them some pointers. It's clear that energy access to electricity, access to power has a linkage to the level of development you have in the country. All of the countries that are doing well on the HDI scale, Human Development Index scale, are also doing very well in terms of energy access, because many of these things have energy tied to them. We are 108 out of 187 out of 190 in the World Health Systems Report. At the tail end there, we are 187 out of 190 in the Global Food Security Index. And these numbers are old, though. These are like 5-year-old numbers. If they run these numbers again today, I shudder to imagine where we would sit as a country. Moving on to the next slide, which is where I will now, hold on, please. I will now more or less run through all of them one by one till we get to the end of it. I'll now run through the challenges we have in Nigeria in terms of energy access as a country, totally. And we see over here the challenges. We need 30 gigawatts to 175 gigawatts in terms of power. Today, on a good day, on average, we are doing 3.5. Even though we have 14 gig installed, we are doing about 3.5. So 3.5 compared to the 30 gigawatts. Some good days, though, if Kainji Dam is doing well, everything is doing well, we can do 5 for something. But on average, 3.5. We've had the record number of grid collapses this year. We are not doing very well. I shudder to imagine what the results would look like in terms of what our average supply is at the end of this year. So 30 gigawatt is the minimum. That means we need to do 10x, give or take, of what we are doing today in terms of what the average Nigerian is getting for us to even show that we're doing well. 75% of our households are either off-grid or totally off-grid or enjoying, in quote, bad grid, which is less than 4 hours a day. And 120 million Nigerians are affected in that they either have totally bad grid or totally off-grid. 1 to 20 million, more than half of us. And we have well over 20 million gens. Petrol, diesel, I better pass my neighbor, the large ones serving industries, from the one-room apartment to Nestle and Nigerian breweries, well over 20 million, chugging along in the country. But of course, we choose not to look at this only as challenges. We also decided to look at this as opportunities also. So we see an opportunity, given the right fiscal incentives and policy directions and actions by the government to have immediately about 15 to $20 billion in terms of the amount which Nigerians spend on their own alternative energy costs. So if they are spending that much already today, and you can find a solution for them which can cost less in terms of that also, even though it's a problem, they are spending that money on maintaining the generators, they are spending that money on diesel, they are spending that money on petrol, of course, with the committant environmental issues. But to know that if you can give them a solution that is 50%, 70%, 20%, 30% cheaper, that's an opportunity. People are spending that money as of today in Nigeria. $15 billion. A $10 billion immediate investment opportunity in mini-grids. I would have a slide later that talks about some of the various technologies and models which we have in the energy access space operational today in Nigeria. We have a potential opportunity to deploy about 10 million solar home system units, which are basically small systems that are usually solar powered, which can serve bulbs, lights, TVs, radios in a house in Nigeria today. So that's also an opportunity. We have relative high willingness to pay in this country because people are already paying anyway. You may complain that your NEPA bill at 60 kilowatts, 60 naira per kilowatt hour is high, or give or take. But if you run down your gen for 30 days in a month, you find out that your cost per kilowatt hour is pushing 200 or 250. So people are paying, but it's just that you don't see that money in a bill or one day. But every day you are paying 500, 1,000, 1,200, 2,000, depending on your level. It's a cost. And of course, we also have on the positive side sound policy trajectory in this country. We have many good regulations which are fantastic. We have the $500 million NEP program. We have mobile banking initiatives which also facilitate energy access in terms of payments for these systems, and also some of the very, very best positive regulatory changes, policies in the developing world. It's interesting to actually state, we have leave that there, that people from other parts of the world actually come to Nigeria to learn what we are doing at the REA, at the NERC, at various conferences in terms of how are you guys deploying mini-grids, how are you guys deploying SHS systems, how are you guys facilitating the interconnection between grid operators or DISCOs, for example, and the mini-grid operators in Nigeria, because often, in some places you can say, okay, the grid operators can say, or this DISCOs can say, oh, these mini-grid guys are chopping into our franchise areas. I don't want them. How are you managing all those issues? And relatively, we are doing relatively well as a country. So the combination of all of those issues make it an opportunity for us as a country, which with the right activities by everybody concerned, investors, policymakers, the government, various entities, we can turn the problem we have right now around. And then I come right here now to move on to something that deals with the topic of the day, which is about renewable energy and how that fits into where we are. And what I like about Nigeria, even though it's a problem, is the fact that we are so young. 3 gigawatts is nothing. There are some towns, there are some small cities of 100,000 people that use more than the 3 gigawatts, 200 million of us are sharing in Nigeria. There are some towns, 200,000 people, especially when it's cold like hell. Apologies, pardon my French. In some parts of Canada and some parts of other places, 200,000 people are using more than what 200 million of us are using in Nigeria. So we have that opportunity to also, because we are so far down there, we have the opportunity to redesign our systems and to put in place a system where you can do your oil and gas, you can do your gas. I was a gas man for well over 10 years. You can have gas as a transition fuel, but you also know that there are places that gas can never get to. You know, we all know. There are places gas can never get to because it doesn't make business sense. So why not have a system where you can have the two systems working side by side to meet the challenges we have and to facilitate energy access to Nigeria? It doesn't have to be one has to die for the other, no. Our problems are so huge that we can actually adopt the two approaches. And if we double energy access in Nigeria, it looks like a big deal, but it's still nothing. The average Nigerian today gets 15 times less power than the average Ghanaian, even though they're having problems in Ghana today. The average Nigerian today enjoys 40 times less power than the average South African. They too are having their own issues today, obviously, because of underinvestment and what have you. But it is clear that because even though we have a challenge, we can redesign our systems. We can activate private industry. We can activate investment in this space if you put the right things together to actually get funding out to solve these problems. So I now go back to that initial slide, which basically tells us why renewable energy makes sense. It makes sense primarily because it was expensive in the past, very, very, very expensive. But we've seen a 400 times drop in solar PV costs in the last 45 years or thereabouts. It's cheaper than petrol and diesel. The only challenge is the cost of acquisition. That's the only challenge. I have solar in my house, but it cost me a few millions. But I'm also happy to tell you I've only bought 4 kegs of petrol this year. I was using 7 kegs a week before. So, yeah. Again, by the middle of next year, it would have paid for itself. But the challenge also always is how do you acquire? And what can be done to solve that acquisition cost? It is cheaper, clearly. Run those numbers. It is amenable to serving geographically dispersed populations. So you don't have to wait to take the grid to a place. You can either have a mini grid there, or you can have, even there are some mesh grid solutions which are available now, Okra systems and what have you. Or you can even have solar energy systems, or you can even have solar home systems which can meet the immediate needs of the people who are out of there. That is part of the work that the Rural Electrification Agency is doing well in Nigeria today. They are driving that agenda. One of the few things I've seen which has given me a lot of hope in this country. They're doing fantastic work in that area. We also see that it's also easy to incorporate into our immature systems. You can blend a solar mini grid into Abuja Disco. The work is going on at Wuse Market on that. Olon is an investor in that company. GV Projects Limited is building an integrated mini grid at the Wuse Market today, solar powered, but which is also integrated into AEDC, such that both of them agree how they're going to share revenue, how they will manage everything, and everybody is happy. So, because our systems are so young, are so small, we can redesign it. But of course, we have to sit down and make that decision as a country. That are we ready to do what needs to be taken, what needs to be done? Are we even at the very least ready to even say, okay, I'm not putting shishi, I'm not putting a cupboard down as government, but let me put in place all the things that need to be done to activate private investment and get Nigerians to solve their own Nigerian power problems. Next slide, please. So, like I said, when other people were talking earlier today, and I asked somebody, what are your own recommendations? I think this should be what to do to facilitate, but I was trying to get this done yesterday night, well, because I had to attend to the people that were paying my own salaries, and my chairman had told me, the MD of SPDC, that I have to be here. So I said, no, I must get this done. So I must have a slide on recommendations, and these are my own recommendations. Like I said earlier, for the Nigerian government, we need to redesign our power delivery system away from this centralized command and control system. It is not working for us. We are not making progress. It is not working. And the beauty of it is that you can still have this grid or whatever it is working on the side, no problem. Operate it, no wala. Optimize it. Let the Siemens deal come, sort out our problems and transmission and what have you. Let it work. No wahala. But the issue is that even if we double it, even if we use the entire 14 gigawatt we have, which is like 3.5 times 4, we still have a long way to go. Our per capita would have increased, but we are still like, that puts us as half of Ghana. We are still a long way to go. Don't even start looking at the spirits in America or Canada. Don't even go near those ones. So we are still a long way to go. So operate your grid, but design a system. We were called to consult with the Lagos State government, and they have this ambitious plan to look at what can they do to have a power policy, power master plan, which operates in Lagos State, so that Lagos State can then activate all the resources it has to ensure that Lagos State gets power. Those kind of things should be encouraged. Just make sure that, yes, manage the issues of the discos and what have you, but the pie is big enough. The problems are huge. People are spending $15 billion a year. How much is our budget? Convert it into Naira at the current exchange rate. It's a lot of money. We need to do something about that. Operate what you're operating, optimize it, and still make it work. I was talking to one of the MDs of the discos, and I was telling him, Oga, the only thing saving you, why you still have a disco to run, is because solar storage, battery storage costs have not gone down to the level I need it to. Solar, renewable energy still works. It still works. But the day battery storage is reduced by 80%, you will not have a business again. Continue talking. One day, one scientist in one school will release something, or Tesla will do something, or somebody is going to bring something out, and you will not have a business again. The way people have been solving their own problems with water, dig your own borehole, with electricity, have your own megad. With what else are we doing by ourselves? They will have their own electricity. They will tell you, come and collect your own meter. That is the only thing saving you. So in the period between now and then, optimize your systems. Incorporate what you have now into your systems and find a way to make it work. Keep your premium customers, no problem, but find a way, the part of the community which is not served right now. Renewable energy, well done, well structured, can solve that problem for you. So that's the government one. Number two, in terms of that, is also putting in policies which reduces the cost of adoption, because solar is so expensive also partly because you've got agencies of government like customs, which has a mandate. Government is broke now. They need every copper they can get to collect money. But you also have the Ministry of Finance, which also has a mandate to also give solar companies waivers. But because customs wants to impress people in government, they say, no, I don't recognize that waiver. So you need somebody sitting up to integrate. We used to have a minister of coordination and integration who sees what all the various government agencies are doing. And you say, Mr. Man, what you are doing is good, though. You will look good in your end of year report, but it's counterproductive in the long run. It doesn't fit into Nigeria's master plan. We need to find a way to take a holistic picture and look at what we are doing as a country and find out what is our end-time goals and how do we change what we are doing now to enable us to achieve that as a country. And then we also, as much as possible, one thing COVID has taught us is that you need to be robust. All this just in time, everybody was doing, it became clear. You need to have a policy for your own country. How are you going to domesticate as much of this value chain in your country? Holland, for example, is an investor in the premier solar. I'm supposed to be at the board meeting today, 1 p.m. I can't make it because I have to be here. Is an investor in Nigeria's premier solar panel assembly company, Oxano Limited, which makes panels. We've put well over $1.5 million into that company so far. And it's doing well. It's a profitable company. It's doing fantastically well. We need to invest in that value chain such that the day one COVID comes, the day one country decides Nigeria will not give you XYZ again, we can still stand. That is also key. And only government can do what they can to enable that sector grow and help us domesticate part of this value chain ourselves. How can we, for example, start recycling batteries in Nigeria? What do we need to do? All these batteries, like I read somewhere, California is beginning to also start having issues because all the solar panels which they mandated people to put 20 years ago are going to start becoming expired. How do they solve that problem? The panels all of us did 5 years ago or 4 years ago. What do we do? What do we have as a country to activate, to ensure people invest in that? So that the problem you are trying to solve at the environmental level, you don't come back and create it at the end of life of these products. How do we solve that? Integrated thinking, 360-degree thinking. Then we go back to development partners. You know, one of the challenges I have, because of this job and the fact that solar is good, renewable energy is good, we have a lot of interface with the development partners, World Bank, AFDB, GIZ, the British, the Americans. I have partnerships with some of them. Some of them are giving me money, so I can't talk too much. But one thing I need to say also is that they need to integrate. Many of these guys have their plans, and they just want to do something so that they can report to London, report to Washington, report to their head office that they've done XYZ in Nigeria. But you need to integrate, and I've said it. I said it at the IAEE CEO session last month or sometime in May. All of you are doing so much. Integrate. The IAEA is responsible for the off-grid power agenda in Nigeria. As of today, it is under the Ministry of Power. Integrate all these small things you are all doing separately into what the IAEA is doing, so that you can find out that, okay, I want to do XYZ. No, the Americans are already doing something in that area. I want to spend $1 million to do Y. No, the Japanese are already doing something in that area. We don't need 5 different development partners doing the same thing with little to show for it. We need to coordinate them, and I'm happy that the IAEA is doing stuff in that regard. Then we now come down to investors. I think I'm about the only investor in this place. Any other investor, please say hi. God bless you. Madam, thank you, ma, for at least making us 3 here. You see, what I see in this space is that there's a lot of debt. Everybody wants to, for every $1 of equity in this space, there's like $12 of debt. Everybody wants to give debt. How are these companies going to do what they need to do if everybody is giving them debt? We need to have investors who, yes, I know that Nigeria is a challenging market. Nigeria has its own issues, but we need to have investors who can actually sit down and say, what do you guys need? And which is something I'm proud of that we do at all. We've had companies that we've given $50,000 initially. Oxano, which I mentioned here, we gave them $50,000 initially for them to bring an automatic panel placing machine into Nigeria. It was $50K in debt, $50K in grants, but our bit was the debt bit. The $50K in grants came from the USADF, an agency of the US government, which is why I don't want to abuse all of them too much. But through that activating funding, Oxano has secured $1.5 million more from us as all on, which is great. If nobody had that patience to say, guy, let me work with you. I see your plan. We need to see what you can do to solve this problem in Nigeria. Yeah, we need to have companies who are investors, and all the rich men in this country, do something. We have rich men who have endowed universities, things. Have a focus that what can you do to help people in this space, to invest in this space, to find 1 or 2 companies. Now, Nigeria is crazy, it's difficult, I know everything, but there must be a way. There must be niches you can exploit. There must be companies you can provide equity, support, funding in some shape or form to solve this problem in the country. And then people should also open their minds. When I joined Energy Access about 3.5 years ago on secondment from the bigger Shell organization, because Allon is owned by Shell, basically, but it's limited by guarantee, which means that none of the gains we make from our investment activities goes back into Shell. So we don't pay dividends. I don't have everything, even though the MD of SPDC is my chairman. So I'm seconded into Allon from Shell. And when I joined, there was basically mini grid, solar home systems, and centralized cooling. That was all there was in this space. But in the last 3.5 years, the deployment models have almost doubled. So it's important for investors to also open their minds that what other models are there, what can be combined. If mini grids are not viable in some places because they don't have productive use, what can you do to activate that in this area to improve the viability case for this project? So I think a lot of imagination is also needed in this space also. Next slide. I think that's, yeah. So over here, I'll just talk, this is basically showing some of the various models which exist in the space. Mini-grid, solar energy systems, productive use optimization systems, cold storage systems, which are either centralized or non-centralized, which are basically solar fridges or freezers, battery as a service business model, and of course, solar home systems. All of these have advantages and disadvantages. I won't want to run through all of them, but yeah, these are the all owners investments in every single one of these spaces. We have over 40, about 46. I think we funded one more company last week. We have about 45, 46 companies that we've invested in, from $50,000 to as high as $2 million. All of them operating in Nigeria. And let's go down in terms of who we are, because I need to more or less talk a bit more about who we are further down. Yeah, again. So this is basically what we do. I am the investment manager at Allon. My CEO left to become the vice chancellor of a university in the US. It's something he has always wanted to do. So I said, okay, let me do this job. So we are primarily an impact investment company focusing on this space. We have funding commitment to the hundreds of millions of dollars from Shell, from the Rockefeller Foundation, and other key reputable partners. But we also have the Allon Hub, which provides non-financial support to companies operating in this space. So not every problem is money. Some problems are capacity related. So whatever needs to be done to help those companies, the Allon Hub has programs in place to support them. Then, of course, we also invest via our enabling finance practice in funds and funds of funds, which help to aggregate funding for larger scale projects, utility or utility-like projects in this space, in the renewable energy space. And of course, we also have a gas focus, because of course, Shell will not give you money and say don't do something in gas, but I've not found a gas deal yet. So if anybody has a fantastic gas opportunity, even though I know gas is scarce in Nigeria now, I'm happy to talk. And I'm talking about pipeline gas, not cooking gas or LNG, maybe even LNG. I'm open. So, and of course, we also have a fantastic grant practice where we look at where are the areas of friction in the renewable energy space, in the off-grid space, and we target grants to either study these problems, to analyze these problems, or to support government agencies, or to support conferences. For example, maybe next year, when the new CEO comes, I'll tell him or her, maybe we should partner with you guys. I'm not promising, no, please, oh. Don't hold me, oh. I'm not promising anything, but we'll see what is possible. So, and of course, we do it in partnership with global and local partners. The IAEE is there, the Ministry of Power is there, the NERC is there, the World Bank is there, the Rockefeller Foundation is there. We are co-investors with Bill Gates in one or two companies. So all sorts of parties, government, non-government, and what have you, we work with them to ensure that this problem is solved, because it's a multi-billion-dollar problem. So there's no way Shinkini money can solve all those problems. Next slide, please. How long more do I have? 1 more minute. Thank you, sir. I'm done. So back to all those models, these are all the companies we have invested in. And something that's also important is we also have an investment in what we call enablers. Because even though you have companies operating in all of these spaces, you have companies whose activities cut across everything you have in the ecosystem, like Oxano, which I mentioned earlier. Oxano basically produces panels, and panels are used in all of these models. So Oxano is an enabler for the entire ecosystem. Infi Branches is a fintech company that we've invested in, which is using renewable energy deployment as part of its core market entry strategy. So we are also, and I think we put $2 million in that company. We're also an investor in that company. And of course, it's key to also mention that the demand aggregation and for renewable technologies, which is basically a $10 million fund, which we do in partnership with the Rockefeller Foundation, basically aggregating the procurement of key components and inputs in this space to enable these guys to enjoy some speed, some economies of scale, and what have you, and then to facilitate projects which entities like the IAEE are putting out. So those are the ways which we enable the ecosystem. By the time somebody comes to present from Allon in another year or two, these 6 models might have become 8 or 9 or 10. So thank you very much. I don't think I have anything else, do I? Yeah. That basically shows where our impact is felt across Nigeria. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. Like I said, I'm no academic. I left school a number of years ago, but thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Saro Akinrogunde, for this.